Little brown girl, you are so beautiful to me. I hope you see.
Hi guys, my name is Tamika House, and I am the creator of Tres Amica, my memoir podcast. Please tune into season 3, streaming on all platforms, including YouTube, right now.
All right, y'all have tuned into another episode of Tres Amica season 3, and we just wrapped up a photo shoot of Ebony of Arts. And I'm here with my good sis Audrey. She has been one of my friends in the industry for many, many moons, at least about 10 years, right? For a very, very long time, we have been supporting each other, going to each other's events, sharing each other's content. And Audrey has grown to be like this celebrity ghostwriter, y'all. So I had to bring her in to be a part of season 3 because she is like a good example of how you can pursue your dreams, but then also maximize them. So Audrey, thank you so much for being a part of this episode.
Thank you for having me.
You're absolutely welcome. So life has been pretty extraordinary for you, and I, for one, have been watching your growth, right? And I've been watching your content. And like, Audrey, she's always looking like stylish. Like, you got these bags now that you put out. And like, you just be doing, like, you're doing a lot. So take me into this journey of being this, have you mastered the art of storytelling? How did you get it? How did you get there?
Wow. Well, first of all, let me say I'm proud of you. And I see your grind. And I think it's really amazing when you're in a same or similar space with someone and you can genuinely be proud of them, you know, for the amplification of voices. So I want to let you know I'm proud of you for that.
Thank you.
Yes.
I appreciate that.
And I know you understand the grind. That's why,
yes,
you know, we
very much
connect.
so.
You understand the grind. This started for me 36 years ago. And I remember...
You keep saying that, but you look 36.
I do. I'll take it. I remember writing a book at the age of 10, and my mom came into my room and she had her hands were filled with money, and she said, "Here you go." And I was like, "What is this?" And she said, "This is the money that you earned from the book that you wrote." And I said, "Well, what am I supposed to do with it?" And she said, "This is yours. You earned it." And I remember, being in a single parent home, childhood survivor of domestic violence, and we would literally have these books in our trunk, and we would go to different community events and we would sell them. Mm-hmm. And so I learned at a very young age that stories were something that made people stop and take notice, but they could also be monetized. When you did the work one time, they could be monetized. So that lesson stayed with me forever. And so from that point, I lost time, with writing because there was so much going on in our house. But when I returned to be able to write my first book, I learned about the importance of building community with a story, right? And if you have people who feel the same, who are in the amen choir for whatever that message of the story is, those people will become your mouthpieces for the book and for the story, right?
True.
So I wrote a book. It was called Consciously Beautiful, I Am Enough, and I incorporated the stories of 21 women and teen girls. And it was all about non-traditional beauty. It was, at that time, nobody was talking about alopecia. Nobody was talking about, a lot of the things that we talk about transparently with domestic violence. Someone was very light, someone was very dark, someone had freckles, someone was an albino. We had all kinds of beautiful women, and they shared their stories. And so I brought them in, gave them all makeovers, right? And I had them tell me their stories. Okay. And then I just wrote their stories, and I called each of them and I said, "I want to read to you what I wrote." And I had no idea what their reaction would be, but that was my introduction into ghostwriting. I didn't even know.
That's what you were essentially doing.
I didn't know.
It's very interesting that you say that that's your first project into stepping back into the art of storytelling, because I'm getting ready to do a project similar to that called Her Love. And it is stories of women discovering their self-love languages. It's a story of self-discovery, because I feel like we are, or we should be, our very first love. And I didn't really discover that until I was an adult.
Sure.
And it's interesting that a lot of your roots started with your mother investing and pouring into your love for writing. I didn't know that my own mother was doing the same, because my mother kind of did it indirectly. She put me into writing classes. She got me my first desk. Everywhere I turned around, she was giving me journals and things like that. So I didn't know that she was really pouring into, my love for writing. Yeah. And I don't get to really have those conversations with her because when it was time for me to really step into that dream, she was already gone. So I had to really kind of embrace this journey and really kind of discover and think about how it got started on my own.
Yes.
And so the fact that you started by sharing other people's stories, right? And this is like our life's work.
Yes.
This is where you and I really align. Right. And this is why you and I connect.
Yes.
Because we give like a platform and a voice to people who sometimes cannot speak.
Right.
For some people who sometimes cannot tell the story on their own because they don't know how to write. Writing is really an art.
Right.
You really have to know how to tell a story. Yes. And the fact that's really how you jumped back into that space. Okay, so now that you have placed out those stories, did you do that again? Was that like your signature approach to telling stories, or like what? How do you tell stories now? Because I know you ghostwrite for a lot of different influential people now.
Right.
But do you still do stories like that as well, on stories of healing and people's experiences?
Yes. Well, I feel like I could almost stop the ghostwriting and just be a therapist. Because so much of what I do is listening to, or should I say, hearing what people don't say, right? Because it's the silence.
Okay.
It's
like when people say read between the lines.
It really is. Okay. My process is very much like therapy, and I have clients who will come back and say, I want to write another book, but I just really want to talk to you, And I think it's because my mom was a counselor. And so she taught me how to listen. She taught me how to listen relentlessly.
Is your mom still here?
She is still here. And it is a blessing for her to be able to see what she poured into me manifest. And what you are doing is reaping the harvest of what your mother, the seed she sowed.
Yes, I just let go of my frustration and anger with my mama because I was upset. Because now when I look at women today who are in their 50s, these women looking like they in their 30s.
I know.
And my mother was 52 when she passed on, but she didn't look it. Her health was horrible. She didn't take care of herself. And I'm like, man, why? Why you do that?
Right.
Like, and I can't talk to her or gain some type of understanding because she's not here. Right. And also, I didn't know to really ask those questions or to really understand her. So I became a woman of myself.
Of course.
And I began to be a mother, like really understand what parenting was and what relationship was, paying bills and everything that came with being an adult. I had to learn on my own. So I just began to let go of that anger that I had towards my mother. So it's a blessing for you to be able to not only have your mother still here, but she can see the fruits of your labor. She can see the fruits of her labor. And how she poured into you and what you're doing with her investment into you. I think that's beautiful.
It is. We saved each other. My mother saved me, from I guess really feeling worthless. When you don't have your father in your life, you question your value. And you question, if you're worthy of love. And so my mother always poured that into me, but she also chose someone who did not love her. She chose someone who was abusive. And so I saved her. There was a moment when I was in detention. I got into a lot of trouble in school. I was making D's and F's, and it didn't look bright. But I also felt like I was going to have to do something detrimental to save her from this person, right? So I didn't really see a future for myself. And I remember coming home from detention, and the teacher had to drop me off because I called. I was trying to get in touch with my mom, and she didn't answer. And I was like, something probably happened. I'm on guard, expecting this. And I get home, and lo and behold, it was. And she was really on her last leg. And I remember just, grabbing her and holding her, and I prayed with her. And from that point forward, the domestic violence laws were really stringent at that time. They were not like they are now. Right. So you had to be like almost dying, to get some
the
help.
Blood and the bruises. Yes. Oh, I believe you.
Right. Because otherwise it wasn't. And so we worked together, and we were able to get divorce papers served. And it was a journey. But what it taught me, though, because I held that story in for so long, house businesses It's house
They
business.
say what happens in our house stays in our house.
Stays in the house, and when you go outside, you look like everything is okay. So we master
Which is
that.
not a good practice, y'all.
Not at all.
It's
It's traumatic.
Yeah.
And so writing is what brought me back to that. My editor, when I told all of the stories of these women, the editor kept saying, but why are you telling all of these stories?
Right. You gotta connect. Like, why are we doing all
What
this?
is the meaning of it? And I said, well, because I feel like they need to tell that. I was not prepared to tell anything about myself, but the editor kept digging.
And so you had to include your story.
I had to tell one.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right, I'm on the right track because even with the concept that I'm putting together, it's like I'm leading the stories.
Yes.
It gotta make sense. Why am I telling these stories? Why am I choosing these type of stories?
Right.
It has to all make sense and it has to all connect.
That's right.
So it's beautiful that we kind of are in the same space of healing through words.
Yes, absolutely.
And this is like the premise of why I started Tres Amica. And I know I keep saying this is the last season. It probably is the last season, y'all, because I have so many things going on. So y'all have to follow me another way. But I had to begin to heal through conversation, which essentially is words.
That's right.
I had to talk it through. I had to take accountability, and would actually taking accountability and talking it through, it brought more clarity.
Yes.
And so when I was able to have a clear understanding of why this happened, when this happened, how did I respond, what did I do to get through this, to get through that, how did I contribute, I was able to not only forgive myself, but forgive those the situations, forgive the circumstances. Because also me and God was beefing.
Right, of course.
We was beefing for a little bit.
Of course.
Because I was like, I'm a good person.
Right.
But you gave me these people, and you left me with these folks, and you took the good ones away, and why? And I was just upset.
Right.
And so I had to really talk my way through my experiences and not finding fault and blaming everything, because it is what it is. It happened.
Right. Right.
And life is going to happen.
It will.
The good, the bad, the indifferent,
It will all happen.
amazing people are going to come across your life. Shitty people are going to come across your life. But how are you going to deal with it? And how are you going to get through it?
Right.
And so this is why I started having these conversations, because it's all about just understanding and then also taking accountability. Because people will get upset about, oh, this happened, oh, they died, oh, this, and it happened.
It happened. But the thing is, what I've learned over the years is that you have to be cultivated as a vessel. You can't just show up and be a vessel. In order to be the passage, the pathway for other people's stories, you have to have been cultivated. And so that's what continuously happens in your life, is that you are cultivated over and over again, and you get to the point where you say, okay, well, now how much cultivating is necessary?
Right. I don't learn all the lessons.
I don't want any lessons. Right. There was a meme that said, I don't want any of the don't kill me but make me stronger stuff this year.
I want that.
Don't give me that.
Don't test me. When you say God won't give you anything that you won't handle, Lord, I don't
want
want to handle
anything else.
I'm good.
But the thing is, when I look at you and I look at the masses and the people who have access to a platform to share their stories, when I look at the people who can understand what being Black and published looks like, right? A book signing, a space, all of those things, you have to know that you're going to continuously be cultivated, because you are a vessel, and it's, the magnitude of what it is that you've been called to do is great.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
It is what it is. And I actually am living in a dream. So I used to visualize having a space where people were expressing poetry and it was like music and things like that. And there's still more I want to do, right? But we are sitting in a space, my very first creative space, where I can do just that. And I have yet to have a dream where I have not fulfilled. I've been extremely intentional with everything I've ever wanted to do. Yeah. And yet here I am at 36, still fulfilling dreams. But what's interesting is my dreams are not by chance. My dreams are by actually manifesting, dreaming them, like processing them in my head, and then discovering the steps to actually make them happen.
Yes.
And then and I'm big on words, so inside of my creative space, you'll see a manifestation wall. And I encourage people to write it out and place on the wall. That's for a while.
Yes, I saw it.
And the universe will then do the rest of the work.
Right.
When you say, I feel beautiful, you're going to feel beautiful. When you say, oh, today's a bad day, I don't know. It's going to probably be a bad day.
Yes, right.
So with that being said, you actually have the power to be happy. You have the power to live out your dreams. You have the power to hop on a flight and go to that country or that city you always wanted to explore. It's all about how.
It is.
And a lot of people don't want to figure out how.
Right.
And when they don't figure out how, they walk around upset about the life that they're living. But the life that they're living is the one that you allowed for yourself to live. And I've never really wanted that to be my reality. I always wanted to just do things that was outside of the norm. So the art of storytelling has afforded us to be able to live out our dreams. Yeah. But it also has opened up doors for other people. And so now that you have been able to establish yourself as this ghostwriter extraordinaire, you have all these beautiful, talented clients who in their own right have been successful and been able to fulfill their own dreams. What's next? What's going on with you next? What do you do? Because I know you be doing retreats in Paris. I'm like, oh, I want to do that. I want to go overseas and do retreats.
Yeah.
And you have a bag line now, so you're stepping outside of the written word, and you're actually creating other ventures. So what else are you doing? Let's talk about it.
Well, so the retreats that's a dream come true. Audrey Ori Retreats is my international retreats company. It's a travel agency. And I just love it because I traveled to Japan. That wasn't my first international trip, but it was the farthest that I had gone. And I said to myself, if I go over here and I write and I feel different, I'm going to do everything that I can to create this opportunity for other people. So I went over there and the air was different. I just felt so amazing. And I was like, I have to do this. So we have curated this space exclusively for Black women because the industry would have us to believe that Black women don't travel and that we don't travel in excellence and that we don't have luxurious experiences.
They try to say everything about a Black woman and she's great.
Right. But we know that is very false. So it's a luxury experience because I believe that we need to be in the lap of luxury. We deserve it with everything that we combat in the world. So there's Audrey Ori Retreats to have that. I also have the Ori Agency. I'm super excited about the Ori Agency.
Tell me about this. What's this?
So the Ori Agency is focused on adaptations. And so we take books and we transform them into other formats, whether that be TV, film, and plays.
What about audiobooks and
all of that?
This is amazing.
Yeah.
All right.
So the adaptations, because I think sometimes people think when you write a book that that's it, but there's so many other ways that the content of the stories can be put together. So that is the love of my life now is the Ori Agency and just venturing out and creating other formats.
That's pretty cool. Stories. And I know you said you was talking about podcasting. Podcasting is another space to tell stories. And then also there is no blueprint or one way to do a podcast as well too. So I'm definitely reading that you actually do that. I mean it's ways to do it. We just gotta make time for everything.
I think it is. It's the time.
It's the timing. And I mean I know I'm talking about again winding mine down, but it is really another form of my own storytelling.
Yes.
I didn't really want to write my story. I got a little lazy with writing. And I figured, there's a lot of other ways to actually tell a story. I can do it through conversation. I can do it through films. I can do it through music. Because I call myself wanting to be a singer sometimes.
Yes.
As y'all saw, we do a little singing earlier. But there's a lot of different ways to actually tell a story. So I'm going to encourage you, to tap into that podcast space. You don't want to leave any spaces unmatched and untouched. And just kind of push it out and let me know. We need some advice. I will help you just kind of outline a very unique way for you to put out your content.
Right.
But I think you can do it because you keep creating these other unique ways to tell stories.
Yes.
Like unique trips.
The trips,
and
the
agency to adapt your content in multiple different ways.
Yes.
Like I see that you have this innovative mindset. And I'm going to encourage you to keep doing that. So even with your, you didn't mention your bag.
Yes, Crown
do you have one with you? Is that one in?
This one, yes. This bag is.
Because these bags, y'all, and I think they're like red on the inside.
They are all
so
red.
It's almost like a red bottom type of.
Yeah,
they are gorgeous.
Thank you, because I didn't like. I found myself going to meetings and I would have like a laptop case and another bag and different things, but I wanted a cute way to carry my laptop.
Yeah.
And then I would take my laptop and some of my meetings would be like dinners out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like with different clients. So it was originally because I was inspired. You remember, like in the old days, I'll say, my grandmother would have this like envelope clutch. You know, all grandmothers had one, and they would take them to church. And I was like, I love the shape. Yes, and so I decided to create an attaché case, but it's for your laptop. That was what started it. And then when COVID happened, I needed an outlet creatively besides writing.
Right.
So I was like, I'm gonna design these purses, and I would sketch.
So you designed them too.
I designed them. I sketch in my free time when I get frustrated with my writing, because you know there are moments where you say, you know what, I'm throwing this paper up against the wall.
Or you feel like you kind of just stuck.
I'm
it's
tired.
Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
So I design. I sketch out my purses. I source materials. It's really fun. And then creating the photo shoots. That's telling the story.
Yes.
So I love it. I love it. But recently, this just happened. Someone sent me a text message and they said someone went up to Tracy Ellis Ross and she could not get enough of this bag. So somebody helped me figure out how to get this bag to Tracy Ellis Ross. They said she loved it. I need to get her a bag.
Wow, girl, and you're well on your way. Like, I mean, this is, well, not on your way, but you know, the growth, there's new levels. The journey is continuing on. And it's always about evolution. You want to keep evolving.
Yes.
You don't want to do the same thing
Right.
because there's always new people coming into those spaces.
Right.
So you want to always make sure that you're growing. And the fact you just mentioned photo shoots too. And I want to say maybe 10 years ago or so, I had directed my first photo shoot. And just on the whim, after COVID, I had this idea to produce Ebony of Arts. And this is why we all dialed up, y'all, because I brought out 6 other influential Black women in the creative space that I felt needed to be celebrated. And so now every year I gather those women and I shoot them, you know, we get all glammed up, and we just celebrate ourselves, and then I present those photos in an extravagant exhibit, and we just celebrate each other. And it's something that I feel is not only going to grow, but it's a way for me to continue to create, but also to celebrate us. Right. And so I want to thank you so much for just agreeing to be a part of this year's Ebony of Arts. And y'all, we're going to present them at Lit Diaries. We're also going to take it to Essence, and I'm going to take it to Art Basel in Miami. And I'm going to just keep the conversation going, where we're going to celebrate us, and hopefully we're going to inspire other girls or other women who want to step into our roles and also create and also live off of their creativity. So thank you so much for being a part of today.
Well, thank you. Thank you for everything I told you. I am proud of you for continuing to create these platforms. I'm proud of you for being the harvest of your mother's seed sown, right?
Yeah.
I'm proud of you for healing in public. And most importantly, I'm proud of you for doing what you dream of doing, because some people let their dreams die, but you don't. You work hard. I don't want to make light of the fact that you work hard. Yeah. This doesn't just happen, but I'm proud of you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And you know, I can just imagine where we're going to be at 10 years from now. It's going to be pretty awesome.
We'll be on the jet.
I know, right? I know that's right. Yeah. On the private jet, going to each other's islands, producing so many projects and films and books and not figuring it out, not discovering new things to do. Now we have other folks that's helping bring those visions together, and we're doing a little bit more leisure than the footwork.
Directing.
Yes. Do this. Do that.
Delegation.
I'm excited for you. Thank you so much for being a part of season 3. I'm rooting for y'all. For those who are listening, if you want to take the power in your own hands to create your own destiny, and you want to be able to tell your own story, dive into our own experiences in our art of storytelling. Go to Audrey's website, IamAudreyOri.com. And you can go, of course, to my website, Tres Amica, find out more about what we got going on. If you do not know how to tell a story, Audrey can do that for you. She can tell you how to outline it, how to make it plain and simple, and put it out there for the universe. I'm rooting for y'all. I'm rooting for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. So that's another episode of Tres Amica, and I will see y'all again for another episode when we talk about love, dating, and all that good stuff.
Little brown girl, you are so beautiful to me. I hope you see. Hey there, little brown girl, I just want you to see that if you come.
When I was 12, I told my mom I was going to grow up and be a novelist. And I got the word novelist from this actress on this show, because novelist isn't a word, and I know this is language arts. People are like, what is a novelist? Basically, it's about the person who writes novels. It's a made-up word. But I told everyone I was going to be this novelist. I was going to go to Atlanta, and I was going to become this big-time writer, and my books were going to become movies and all that jazz, and people just thought I was crazy. Because getting a book in shelves or having your book turned into a film, all of that was like a far-fetched opportunity, you know. And we came from Texas, and who's heard of Destiny Child? Destiny Child came from Houston. So back then, that was like our example of making it. So people didn't really believe that you could gain these contracts or get these opportunities and have your music or your movies or be seen or be famous or whatever. But I told everybody, that's what I'm going to do. I want to do that.